Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
We are live, dude. We're live recording. This is fantastic. We're back.
We're live and you are alive.
I'm alive. Live and thriving, too. Live and well.
Ooh, I was worried, man.
Yeah, Brittany was worried, too. I was worried. Shit, I was worried.
Yeah, I don't know that world. So I was like, oh, man, that's why I reached out to you after. I was like, I know that he's probably alive, but I want to make sure of it, And I almost reached out to Britt because you didn't get back to me right away. Mm-hmm. So I almost called her, but I was like, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag. So I got to follow bro code.
Oh, she was fine. No. This is something that's very funny because you couldn't, if you had like secretively done this, coming back to the fact that you were secretly doing a thing, which would have been like, why am I lying? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, it was like, in short, it was one of those things. First of all, it was like a serious fear I had because it's like, I had like dabbled in that realm. I'm super interested in it, but I had this like anxiety kind of keeping me from like fully immersing myself in like what would be called like, the official psychedelic experience, whether that, like having like a full, not just like eating them and being like, whoa, that's cool, which, is fun to do. But like really putting on the blindfold, going deep and like literally losing your body. That's like, I've always read about that. I'm like, that sounds so cool. But I was like, that sounds terrifying too. So the big win, first of all, was just showing up and not pussying out. Like, I can't stress that enough.
Well, I guess could you give us and me the insight of what exactly did you do on Friday?
So Friday, I show up. I go, I went to my one brother's house and, like he was gone all day. So I was able to use his house. My other brother was there to kind of like usher me through the thing. So I show up and I have like I have like the mushrooms with me and there's 5 grams. So it was like, think
Is
of
that a lot?
It's a decent amount. Think of a bag filled with something like that much you have to eat. And if you ever see them before, they're pretty like gnarly looking things. They're like dry. They're like dry and crunchy, like, they didn't taste as bad as I thought. But so I just show up. You just like, and I'm like so nervous and I'm like kind of stalling a little and I'm like, all right, let's just get this over with because I wanted to eat them as early as possible because I wanted to like not be, I wanted to be able to come back to my house, at some reasonable time and function. So I'm nervous. I tell my brother, I'm like, here, I'm going to eat them. Come up. Like I wanted him to be upstairs with me. And then I just started just munching these things, dude. And you can't munch them all at once. So you're pulling them out, crunching them down, washing them down with water. And he was like, you have about 40 minutes. So he's like, take a pee, do whatever you got to do. And so I went to the bathroom, laid back and was just like, I had an eye mask with, I had Bluetooth speakers hooked into the eye mask. It's like you can get it off Amazon for like $20. And I had it like connected to my laptop, which was on the side of the bed. And I just started meditating, just laying there, breathing, meditating. And I'd also set like, this is the other kind of difference between doing it this way is like, I set like a month out, pretty clear intentions of like, I wanted to examine my relationship with fear and anxiety. And I wanted like, meaning like, this was like full on exposure therapy. Like this is one of my, this is one of my like top fears. So I was like, I'm going to jump into it and then kind of observe myself work through that kind of level of fear. And also the second one was to explore a bunch of spiritual concepts that I'd been like reading about kind of in theory. And I just wanted to like, just explore those as well. So yeah, dude, the onset of them, some like the first, 20 minutes or so, I'm just breathing. They haven't even really kicked in and I'm sitting there breathing. Finally, it's like something shows up and, your eyes are closed and you're blindfolded and it's like, oh God, it's here. Oh my God. And then, that's when the anxiety kicks in, long story short, it was just kind of like, this was pretty cool. Like a half hour into it, I get like just flooded with anxiety, adrenaline, all of this stuff. And, it's like, and this is kind of what they do. It's like out of nowhere, you get this insight, which is just like, It's like, look, man, it almost feels like you're being led by something else. And it's like, look, like your body's been processing fear since you were even a person. So it's like, just let your body do its thing, get out of its way. You're totally mentally not necessary in order to sit here and constantly like micromanage your feeling states. Like, get away from that. Stop doing that right now. I was like, all right, I was like, can you let go of that? I'm like, yeah. So I let go of doing that. I still have anxiety, but I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little better. But I'm still like keeping track of my, let me know if this goes into too much detail. Let me know. And
no, please. I'm fascinated.
So I'm breathing, I'm keeping track of my breath and the same line of thinking, or, call it like the entity or whatever, not even an entity, like it's just like the mushrooms in my system are altering my, my thought pattern. And it's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm checking my breath. I want to make sure I'm breathing. It's like, stop doing that, dude. You're same thing. Your body knows how to breathe. You don't need to sit there and regulate your breathing. Like, let go of that. And it's like, and again, it was like, promise you'll be fine. You'll come back. This is going to be pretty nuts, but like, I promise you'll be back in one piece. Like, you're not going to die or be like totally estranged from your family, all that blah, blah, blah. You will be fine. Do you trust this? And I said, yes, I do. So I put full trust in it, fully let go. And dude, it's like from there, you just kind of just become like washed in like visions and revelations. I was gone out of my body. Just, you're not even like, it's not like as dramatic as that. Cause like I, every now and again would just be sitting there and like happen to like reach up and touch my head and be like, oh, my head, I forgot about that. Like stuff like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Dude,
so
freaking me out, man.
Oh yeah. It's a freak out for sure. But here's without going into like the play by play. So, I just went off on all this stuff and all these different things. And the main takeaway was really like, because it comes in waves. So you come into a wave like for an hour, you're just gone in like the deepest kind of meditation you can ever like even conceive of. And the way I would say it too is like, they say you use 10% of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
This is this feels like you're using 100% of your brain. It's overwhelming. It's a lot.
Sounds overwhelming.
It is. It's entirely overwhelming, but it kind of in a good way. So what happens is like, so you have like what they call like, the ego structure, which is just kind of like you worried about yourself, almost like survival, kind of getting ahead, all that stuff kind of wrapped up into one package. And it's hard to see outside of it because that's typically the thing you're perceiving the world through. And this kind of suspends that. And I like would sit there and look at all the things I was afraid of, like, especially like interpersonal things like dancing, telling people the truth about certain things. And with that, whatever it does to you, it suppresses that, and all of your like weird neurotic fears seem to be like the most laughable, ridiculous thing in the world, and they just get wiped. Dude, and I didn't expect this to happen. So it's like the idea of like, not being totally honest with people gets wiped. And it's like, it's not like it's perfect. It'll still, that like urge will pop up afterwards, and I'll go, okay, I see why I want to lie about this. Yeah, not doing that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, dude, it was, I'm trying to think. Because there's a lot to it, but for the most part, it like kind of suspends that kind of like that self-preservation kind of ego faculty for a while to see what it's like without it, and then in that space, you're able to kind of alter yourself in a way where you come back and so far let's say the changes to myself and like my neurotic thinking patterns have been slashed, I would say by like 75%. It's like almost That's the other weird part where it's almost like destabilizing how much of a difference it is, because you're like, I might be going nuts now, but it's like, but when you think about it, it's like, no, like this is actually, like, to give you an example, before, this is how I was thinking beforehand, and it still pops up. I'm not, again, I don't want to present this as like cure all transformation, everything's perfect, because it's fucking very hard and very terrifying to do. And you need to have like a support network after you do it to kind of keep you kind of on, grounded and process it all. But like, dude, before I left, I was like thinking of what shirt I should wear. And this is how like nervous I was and how like neurotic I usually think. So I'm like, all right, what shirt should I wear? I kind of want to wear this green shirt, but I got that green shirt from a thrift store in Alabama when I was doing stand up, and I don't want to wear like some other guy's shirt. God forbid he's like dead or something, or like I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then it was like, so I wore a sweatshirt instead. And then when I started, I laid on top of the blankets because I'm like, well, I don't want to like, be tripping on mushrooms and feel like I'm trapped under the blankets. Those little decisions, like while I was in that state, I like thought of them, and you just start laughing, like, how much of my time do I occupy with absolute minutia that it's absolutely meaningless. It doesn't matter what shirt I wear. Being under the blankets was obviously preferable because it was warm and comfortable. Like, so like a lot of that, and I didn't realize the depths of my neurotic thinking patterns and how deep they actually stretched And then you're able to kind of look at them from an outsider point of view and be like, yeah, I can trash like 80% of that stuff.
Wow. So, okay.
And the effects have lasted. It's pretty crazy. And then, you know, and again, I went into it too with like, I had researched like tons of spiritual practices, Buddhism, meditation, the whole steps of Buddhism, like letting go of desire. And that's been a lasting effect of like being able to alter, let's say, like my motivation. Like I would talk about that stuff almost in an abstract sense of like, I'm going to try to like get out of like, you know, as much self-gratifying things as I can, because like part of me would care about them, part of me doesn't. And it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like, I'm able now to depressurize my day where it's like this is a good example, like writing. So a lot of times I get this resistance when I go to do writing, or like if you could think of something, Wes, of something you want to do, you know, that's good for you, but you have the resistance around it. And sometimes maybe it'll prevent you from doing it. And writing, which I kind of identified as like, I'll go to write and then I'll think about the outcome of me writing, how awesome it will be. When I write something awesome, everyone's patting me on the back like, man, this is so smart. This is so cool. This story's great. I love your sentence style. Your prose is really nice and pretty and blah, 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 blah. And then I'll, you know, think of my reward that I kind of want and I desire. And it becomes so big that then the question arises, but what if it's not that? And then I get nervous and go, I don't know. And I come up with it, you know, I come up with excuses not to do it. And then kind of after this, when you kind of remove that kind of like constant desire scanning, I can write now and just go, you know, I want to write this thing, and there's not like a worry if it's good or not. It's like the reason I want to write this is to communicate things I think are important, and I want to give people like, you know, a sense of enjoyment. So I'm focusing more on the reader while writing rather than focusing on like how awesome I am. If that makes sense.
Sure, 100%.
And it's like it's easy to say. Like it's like one thing I understood intellectually, but I couldn't put it into practice because I couldn't sidestep my own kind of like egoic view of the world. And it's like, again, I don't want to present this as like I've reached full enlightenment. Like, that's not the case of like reaching full enlightenment. It just was a major leg up in things that I was working on. And now I can continue working on those things from, I think, an altered perspective, which is pretty cool.
So what are some examples? So the writing thing would be an example. Are there any other examples that's popped up since Friday when you were done?
Yeah, the writing thing, like my schedule, prioritize. Like I used to get like real jammed up when my schedule get rearranged. And even like I knew I was doing important things. Like I'd be like, well, I am like, you know, I'm taking care of Maya, or like Brittany's family's here. Like I'm making sure they're good. And usually I'd be like, I'm not getting anything done. But like my value hierarchy's been kind of rearranged in a way where it's like, no, that stuff truly is the most important. And I will get to this other stuff. And the reason I was worried about not getting to the other stuff was because I wanted all the praise and, you know, acclaim and all that stuff. So then you start being like, I'm not giving myself the ego juice that I want. And then once you kind of are able to just even start the process of sidestepping that, like really actually doing it, it just makes the day a lot more enjoyable. And the weird thing is it's not demotivating. Like I'm even more motivated now to get stuff done, because it's like I really have been approaching stuff in like a true, I've been getting like real joy out of like service to others, and like even to myself as well. Like I'm taking care of myself too. But it's like, it's just kind of, when you come back out of it, because again, it's like, and I'm sorry, because this is like it's a lot to pack in, it's rambling, but you come back into your body at the end of it. Really, like it's fucking hard too. Like it comes in waves. Like the first hour comes, I go to my brother, I'm like, I think I'm done. He's like, you're not fucking done, dude. Like you got some time. So you kind of like come up the surface for like 10 minutes and you're talking, and it's like you're out of it. So I'm like hitting them with all this stuff. Like I had to remember what money was at one point. So imagine that, being like, what? Like we have countries, and just being like, why? You know, it's crazy. So then like, you know, you're coming back and you're going off into this stuff, and there was all these like wild religious revelations that were really cool, and also kind of terrifying. But in the end of it, you come back too, and you feel like you broke your brain forever. You're like, I'm fucked. I broke my brain. There's no coming back. And that's why it's good to have someone there who was able to be like, hey man, you're good. I thought everyone was like mad at me, and I like completely like I've eaten the forbidden fruit, and I had been just completely like excised from like just, you know, the human enterprise.
Right.
And you know, luckily if someone was there to be like, hey man, like you're actually good, don't worry. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I was worried, you know. So then eventually you're like still in that state, and I remember being like, I can't wait to get out of this state so that I can just launch myself back in life with like this renewed perspective, and like start to and that was the whole thing I kept coming back to, like, just be good. All of the other simulations have been run, all of the possibilities have already been done, and But it is true is that if you are just good and do the thing that aligns your like wants and needs with like your larger system or context, that like it's like not like a like if you do the things that please you while also not like devastating the area around you and the people around you, that's all you got to do. So I kept being like, just be good, dude. That's all you got to do. Like I got a taste of like cosmic consciousness and worrying about like all of the stuff outside of space. And I was like, this sucks. This is overwhelming. I was like, send me back to my little acorn of like life and responsibility, and I promise I will be good. Like I'll just be good to this little tiny thing I have to, take control of. So finally I came out of it, and like, I like at one part I actually thought I could come out of it prematurely and ended up locking myself outside on my brother's deck, which was not enjoyable. But
were you freaking out?
No, and that was the thing. Like it would like the freak out would come, and I would go, how's that going to help you? You can freak out if you want, but like you're not here to freak out. Like your body will handle freakouts when you're in mortal danger. This isn't that, so please don't do that. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But then I came back too, and then it's like when you're finally back, and like I had to like come back into my body and like start to move it around and like gain control of myself, which was funny. But you go downstairs and you go back out in the world, and it's like you're seeing it for the first time again, and it's pretty profound, and it kind of and it doesn't leave right away. Like I'm settling back into it, and it's like my mental processes are a lot different, but it was an amazing experience, dude, and I'm pretty happy that I was able to do it. And I'm still, like I said, I'm still kind of getting the wobbles because I'm like, am I delusional how good things are right now? Because again, they're not perfect by any means, but like that was a huge level up in all the things I've been working on. And it was a way of understanding it in a way that's not just abstract. Like I was able to embody it fully, and I was like, that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, part of it scares the hell out of me, obviously.
It should. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Like the idea of turning something off that could never be turned back on again, or thinking that's what's happening, that like freaks me out. It almost gets my brain like really weird, even kind of articulating it.
Well, that's the thing too, is a lot of us, I mean, we're all kind of looking at the world through this kind of survival mechanism that, in my opinion, is good, but it's like it's designed for, like you've said it before, like caveman days. Like, but we've got like a bazillion. We're running like 9 million plugins. Like, there's like jaguars eating me, being murdered by like rival tribes. Then there's like my boss being kind of snippy with me, which triggers the same fucking system. But like once you kind of wipe that clean, it kind of just gets rid of all the other like kind of unnecessary ones, and it just makes it a lot easier on you.
Wow. So okay, on Friday, and there's still parts of your life where you're walking into them and you're saying you're getting a little bit wobbly. That's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wobbly in almost like a good way. It's just like,
yeah, that's what I was picking up on what you said.
Yeah. I'll confront that like neuroticism and just be like kind of like, oh man, like, again, it's like, and this is the kind of thing, like the ego loves having problems. It just wants to present problems because that's what makes it relevant. Like if you don't have any problems to solve it, that part of you feels like, it's not necessary. And it's like, I don't like to present it as like, oh, the ego's your enemy, kill your ego. It's like, no, it's awesome. It's an awesome thing you have. It's just, if it gets out of control, it can kind of turn your life into kind of a, an anxiety nightmare. So, it's like, it's good kind of learning the different parts of your brain and kind of establishing a relationship with them.
Oh yeah. So, okay. So then, I don't think he'd mind me saying this, but I think Shane, had an experience with it a few weeks ago too, right?
Yes.
And then he said, I believe what he said is like basically the realization that I'm never going to party or anything again. Did he say that? And like, what was his experience, and has it been lasting?
Yeah, he said he was just going to tone it down big time on the level of partying. So it's like, drinking, it's like, having a couple beers and stuff. It's just like partying to excessively. He was like, yeah, I'm going to chill on that. But yeah, I'd like to, today we're doing the podcast today. So I want to kind of talk to him and get more kind of like it, because I can lay my stuff out. Our approaches were different too, because he was just kind of chilling. I went into it like blindfold meditative exercise, and it's like it's just different. Because when the blindfold's off, your brain's just like, you're looking around at stuff, being like, whoa, the wall's this. Like me, like I had to look around the room, and it was just like flowing pink and blue colors, and I could care less. I was like, okay, back on the blindfold, back in, because it's so much more interesting.
Wow.
To me, at least, I should say.
And then, so obviously the colors. I mean, did you see anything else? Because that's the first thing everybody asks me if I tell them somebody's on shrooms. It's like, oh, do they see, unicorns and all that shit?
No, it's not like that. I mean, I'm sure if you ate enough, you would. I mean, you would just completely leave reality totally. But the like my brother would come in and like his face, it's almost like you know when you're drunk and vision's blurry. It's like imagine you're not drunk and you're highly sensitive to it, but like I'm looking at my brother and he's like here and there kind of at the same time.
Whoa. Yeah.
And like when I got locked outside, I tried to open the door and it was like the doorknob and the lock seemed to be just like kind of evading me constantly.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I could handle that, man.
You just say, hey man, this will pass. And that's a skill, being able to be like, this is like something that seems very imminently threatening right now, but I know it will pass, and just allowing yourself to pass through it. And it was just like, oh boy, that was a very hard, difficult experience, but it was also, I think, one of the most rewarding ones. And it's different than drugs. Like people say like alcohol, coke, mushrooms. It's like most of them make you feel good and then bad. This can, you can feel good on it, but for the most part, it's like overwhelming and just crippling, and then you feel good, which, it's different. So
yeah,
dude, awesome. It was awesome to do. I think it's something people can, if you approach it as like a mental exercise, because you can just do it and party and like you said, knock yourself out if that's what you're into. But if you're on like kind of if you're questing and you're in epic mode, you can use them. And again, it's one of those, it's a personal choice. And I'm not saying like everyone do it now, but I think it's like imagine having panic attacks and you start to kind of alter your life to say like, dude, I wouldn't fucking exercise. I was scared I'd have a heart attack like years ago. So that starts to eat away at your life. And this is like going full blast in the opposite direction. It's like, no, I'm going to do the scariest thing I can think of. And it just like levels anxiety. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think you told me that they're now using this as a treatment for PTSD. Is that correct?
Yeah, they do it for they're doing it for, they did studies. They did like end of life things with people who have terminal diagnoses. It helps big time.
Wow.
People who have like terminal cancer diagnoses. And I think they use MDMA too for PTSD, but I think they also use mushrooms too.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to step outside of yourself in a way, see all of your problems from a completely different perspective, to where you're just kind of like literally I was just laughing hysterically at the fact that I wouldn't dance. I was like, what a curmudgeon. Just being like,
yeah.
I was just like, what? Like,
interesting.
I don't want to be made fun of. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why? Who cares? But yeah.
So have you considered, or would you consider like going out and doing exercises now to test that? Like, so for instance, like if you're scared, like you're prior scared to dance, like would you go out now and like in the middle of a shopping mall just dance or something like what? I'm just making that up.
If we were at a shop, if you wanted me to dance at a shopping mall, I would do that for you, Wes. I 100%. I have like 5 weddings coming up this summer, so I'm going to be a.
Oh, that's a great test.
It's not going to be pretty at first, but I will be a dancing machine, dude.
Really?
And that's the switch you make. It's like, I need to be good at this versus like, if no one will like me. And it's like, dude, if you're just dancing, if you're just having fun on a dance floor, nobody's being like, dude, knock it off, get out of it. Everyone's pleased to see you doing that. It's when you're being like when I'd get all stiff McGriff and being like people are like, what are you doing? This is painful to watch because it's like, obviously this exercise is paining you. Why? It's like, I don't want anyone to make fun of me.
Right.
Like, get that out of here. That's not fun.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, because that to me, that does seem like a major selling point to me, which is, gets the barriers out of the way so you can be fully self-expressive. Yes. And that's powerful.
Well, here's the thing. Here's where they get a bad name. And I think Tiger Boy hit it on the nail. It needs to be, here's what Tiger Boy said, they can be life-changing, but need to be followed by immediate action. Otherwise, you'll slowly just recede back into exactly the same habits you had in the first place. I personally think that's true. I think they will kind of alter you a little bit no matter what. But like being able to jump back into Rhomas, being able to jump back into exercise, all that I think is a godsend, because like there's the experience and then there's the integration. And if you can have I know people who've had just abuse acid and, whatever. I don't want to be like judgy about it, but it's like, I've watched people do these things in a way where I'm like, I don't see that that's really helping you that much, because they didn't put all the other stuff in place of like integrating it, adding kind of like the exercise, taking care of yourself, taking care of other people. There are people who can have this experience where it's just kind of like, they're like, that was awesome. And they're like, I want to have more experiences like that. They're not contextualizing them through like a kind of discovery process. Which again, if you want to do that, please knock yourself out. But I would be very bummed out to just slowly slide back into all of my old patterns, which I'm like hyper aware of right now. So yeah, man. I mean, again, it's not like I said, I don't want to say like, oh, this is like the road to perfection, but it's amazing how powerful and how well it works. But again, it's like I was also doing a lot of this work leading up to it. So it's kind of like it's in tandem for sure, at least in my opinion. But this helps people who are like hooked on drugs, and it has that effect where you just kind of go, why am I doing that? And it's like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I'm going to start reading about it just out of curiosity.
Yeah, 70% of people who have done this, like the John Hopkins study, rated it as one of the most profound and meaningful experience of their life, like next to like childbirth and all that stuff.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And the like when they measure their anxiety, life enjoyment, they use like these scales, like scientific scales for it to see like where you rank, and the effects tend to carry up to like 18 months after a single dose.
Holy shit! And then did you? So that John Hopkins study, what do you know what the parameters were, how much they took, like all that kind of stuff?
I think they tried like 3, they tried 5 grams, which I took, and they tried 7, and then they tried more, and they said like 5 to 7 is the sweet spot. Some people only need 3, but they said 5 to 7 is the sweet spot. After 7, it can get kind of just like so out there that it becomes kind of like nonsensy, if that makes sense, where you just come back like, that was weird. So they say about 5 to 7 is kind of like the magic number. 5 was, I think, fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, I give you credit, dude, because I'd be so scared to even try that. I give you credit for just going out and pioneering, man. Like that's intense, bro.
Well, someone pioneered it before. I have to give the credit to the person who pioneered it before me. So, because I was the same way. I was nervous, and someone went out and did it before me, and I was like, damn, that's fucking ballsy. And then seeing that, I was like, I think I can do this. So I'm the second in line for pioneering. But I mean, there's also a ton of people who've done it too, but it's like,
yeah.
Dude, it was a major fear, and it was an area of interest in mine, and there was the dissonance where like I'm super interested in it, but I was also kind of really afraid of it. And I was like, I wanted to work in that capacity around this stuff because I've been fascinated for a while, but I started to feel like a pretender. I'm like, dude, you're kind of being a poser. Like you have to go get and I knew I was going to do it eventually. It's like, do it now. And I had to the key was setting a date on the calendar. Because if I never set a date and told people this is the day I'm doing it, I don't know that I would have done it. Not for a while. So.
Wow. Yeah. Fascinating, man.
It was tight. It was cool. We'll do it. You'll do it.
Oh.
You could handle it. It's just, there's a ton of preparation that goes into it.
Yeah. Yeah, just when it gets to my brain, and that's one of the major reasons I stopped drinking, was just like a lack of control. Getting into that's just the risk associated with it. But I do like hearing about it. It's so it's very fascinating. The more studies, the better it would be for me. And the fact that you said that Johns Hopkins was doing it and all that, they'd have to look into it. But it seems like you had an outstanding experience.
It was fantastic. It was difficult too. It wasn't like fun. I mean, there's parts of it that were like pretty profound and amazing, but like 60% of it was just harrowing. I was just like, oh God, I can't wait till this is over. But I will say, I also tell people you have your whole life to do this, so there's no rush. It's like, get your ducks in line, get set up. But I think it's personally, I gained a tremendous amount of benefit from it. Again, it's like it all depends on like the context in which you're taking them, the setting, your intentions. And it's like, again, do you need all that stuff? No, if you just want to do it. But if you're kind of questing, I recommend doing it in that capacity. So. Wow,
man. Fascinating. Well, dude, thanks for sharing. Dude, that was awesome.
It was cool. It was probably one of the coolest things I've done. Yeah, it was. It was intense. But then you get out of it and you go, well, that was like the build up I put on that. It's like, yeah, I just did it. And like, look how much better it is to just do it and get it over with rather than to kind of sit and be like, well, what if this and maybe that and da. It's like, just do it, dude. So,
and then I guess final question on this: do you anticipate doing it again?
Probably in like 5 years.
Oh wow! Okay, 5 years. Yeah. Holy shit! Okay.
So I'm gonna I think I have enough stuff to work on from that experience for the next 5 years or so. And I don't right now. I'm not like really hot under the collar to do it again anytime soon because it was such a taxing experience. But I think it'd be a good like every once a decade, once every 5 year kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because I think I watched that show Billions. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. Mm-hmm. I think in one of the seasons he does it. Like he and his partner, kind of his partner in crime, do it out in like the desert in like a teepee, that sort of thing. I assume it's very similar to what you're talking about. They didn't really articulate what was going on, but it seems like, and I feel like I've seen it in movies and that kind of stuff where it's like this typical, like they go out somewhere isolated and they have this very like out of body experience, and then it's like they return not the same person.
Yeah. Oh, it changes you. I mean, I think they've measured it before in this. I think Peterson said this. It will like markedly change when you take the the big five, like openness, all those things. It will increase people's openness score by like 10 points, like a single dose.
Has Jordan Peterson done this?
No, I don't think he'll do it. His daughter Michaela took 7 grams though. I
Whoa.
don't think he's done it. He's kind of weary about it. I think he really should. But yeah, so especially him, he's like, he's like built for. He is mushrooms. When you hear him talk, you're like, how? Are you sure you haven't done these? But he
is mushrooms.
But yeah, no, he should do it, and it's one of those things. Like I said, I think people should start small and just kind of like, you don't have to go crazy, but it's like it's just an area of personal development, and the area specifically, in my opinion, is like. Because it's, a lot of this stuff is like, a lot of the self-improvement is like transformation, change yourself. And that does that. But a huge part of it too is like also radically accepting yourself at the same time. Like when my old thought patterns pop up, I'm not like, oh my God, that doesn't even work. It's just like, oh, there they are. And that's okay. They're there. I'm just, like, I'm good on it. And if I even get caught up in them, I go, it's okay. I did that. Back to let's get back to not doing that. So.
Wow. Fascinating, man. Cool, dude. Well, thanks for sharing, man.
Of course, man.
I look forward to kind of talking about it more, just to keep on gathering data, so that maybe 25 years from now, when I do it, I'll have a sufficient amount of information to. I think
that's a good time to do it, man. I think like early adulthood, like or like not early adulthood, more like middle age. I think middle age is like that's when I would start being like, yo, let's go. Like that's a must.
Interesting. Yeah, fascinating. Cool, man.
You told me what you guys did Friday seemed pretty cool. You guys were breaking down AA.
Yeah, so Friday and Slay and Ray and Matt, if you're cool with bringing them on, if they are available. So Ray and Slay, if you guys are down for continuing the learning lesson on the AA 12-step program, it was awesome. So Matt, they were just walking us through the steps. They would read off the steps and then kind of give some texture around it. And it was amazing. Like, because I told the guys, I have a decent amount of friends and clients who've gone through AA, and in business, I prefer to work with them because those men now have an infrastructure, a code to live by, versus most men don't. It's just kind of random, and it's how you were raised and so on. And just being a quote good person, oftentimes, especially in business, is not good enough. It's like, do we have the same value infrastructure? And AA, I think, regardless of the religious background, teaches you to have that same infrastructure. And guys, I'm gonna let you chat for a second. I gotta pee real bad, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, I remember for school we had to go to some sort of group setting, and like it could have been anything. And I went to AA. I remember thinking like, dude, this is awesome. Like, what the fuck? I want to go to something like this.
Word. Matt, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. What's up,
okay,
bro?
I'm going to go down to my car just to get a good internet signal. So you,
cool.
Slay, you introduce yourself to Matt. I don't know if you guys met before.
Yeah, I know
Matt.
Slay.
Yeah, we have. I don't know if we've talked, but
Yeah.
I've been in on some COSDs and led me here, and everything's great that you got going on here. So so last week we were talking about the first 4 steps, and I do want to I've got to say this. I don't represent the 12 steps or AA, and I don't want to come off like I'm an expert. I'm just someone who doesn't drink, and this stuff saved my life. I've been out of it for a while. But where we left off last week basically was the 4th step is about making a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, which is, and so I talked about how I'd done that with a sponsor. And when we did that, he would actually have like workbooks, like packets that he would send me away with for each step. And so then so that basically consisted of me making a list of all the shitty things I've done and all the things I was wrong about. And then the next step where we'd be going from there is the 5th step, which is we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And it's that other human being that made that tough for me. Taking that packet filled out with all my shortcomings and what have you to my sponsor, who was someone who was, let's say, from a very different demographic than me. It was someone who was very different from me, and that didn't make it easy to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that really just involved going over that with another guy, which was humbling to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, that's it. Well, so remind me too. What were just like a really quick list of the first three? What are the first three again? I know the first. I think I know the first one.
So the first one is about admitting you have a problem. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable.
Okay.
2 is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, for me, sort of ties those two together, where we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think we went through the fourth one, right?
Yeah, he just was going through the fourth one now.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I just wanted to get the full context of it. So sounds awesome so far.
Oh yeah. And then also, Matt, just to add to, I'm looking at my notes now. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, the recommendation is 90 meetings in 90 days. So going every single day for 3 months straight.
Yeah, for 90 or something. 90 or something.
And that's not necessarily going to be enough. So for me to get sober, to quit alcohol this time, I went to rehab for 9 months. So I'd done 90 and 90 a few times, and that wasn't really enough for me. So I had to go a whole 3 times that.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So now we've got 13 minutes because Matt has a hard stop at noon. Can we do the next 3? And I'm gonna jot them down as you guys do it. So Slay, I'll throw it over to you. Why don't you read the next one? So this would be number 5.
So I just went into that we admitted to God, ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And that piggybacks off of number 4, where you've made a moral inventory and now you're going over it with someone else.
So admit to God, ourselves, and what else?
And to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs.
Wow.
You gotta go actually tell them in person. Did you just like read like a long list, or was it just kind of like, here's my deal?
Well, I had made a list. Like I said, he would give me workbooks. It was like working with a tutor and getting homework. And then I would take them back to him and we would sit down and for that one, it was especially important to sit down with him and go over it. And
are they being are they giving a lot of input? Or are they like kind of being like, I guess, like brutally honest about all this stuff? Like if you were to come in and be like, yeah, it turns out I kind of speed a little too much and say curse words, but other than that, if they were like, no.
Well, it was, it was a lot of calling me on my bullshit and calling me out where it was obvious to him that I was holding back.
Yeah.
Now is the list exhaustive, and do you have to give all of the details, or can you hide some things? What is that like?
From God? No.
Well, ideally you could. I mean, if you're doing it right. I remember trying to focus on the things where I had hurt people, whether it was like stealing or being violent, even. So those things, I was in it for the right reasons when I went through this. So I tried to be open.
Yeah. I'd imagine that's a brutal part of the process, telling somebody else.
I think it helped that, Ray had talked about how these steps are in order for a reason. And it's this well-built system. And there's a reason I think that number 4 and number 5 are separate, because you want to make that inventory separately. You want to have that inventory be a separate process than going over and admitting it to someone else.
Got it. Okay. And Ray, what was your experience like, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, you haven't been through this step yet, right, Ray?
That's correct. And I just wanted to update everyone. Like, so yeah, I only got to step 3 in the last 8 months, but I was a bad boy this weekend, and I was down in Miami on a sleepover with Sarah and Thea, and they offered me booze. I said no. They offered me weed. They said no. I said no. They offered me Coke, and unfortunately, I did it. And the nice thing about this program is I don't get thrown out of the program.
Yeah.
I just get back. I just go back to step 1.
Got it.
You know, so the step does not require perfection, and I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm on a bender that I'm going to throw my life away. But reading this out with you now, I think it'll help me just to apply the program and admit to God, ourselves, and to another human being what I did.
Got it.
So rather than just kind of like pretending like it never happened, and just keep carrying on, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing too, because I know people who've gone through this program and like, yeah, they'll slip up, but then they won't tell anyone, and then they're like, and then from my perspective, it's like, well, I think I can get away with this and I'm good, and then it slowly escalates and escalates. Next thing you know, you're like, dude, what the fuck is wrong? And you're like, oh shit, he's fucked up. But yeah, that's what because there is like differences. There's like the harm reduction models, and then there's some that are just like, you can't do any substance ever for the rest of your life ever. Don't even think about them. Don't talk about them. Blah blah blah. But how do you feel? What was that process like, Ray? Of like just kind of slipping up, and like how'd you pop back on, or like what was that like?
Well, he said, so last time I was there, I was raging like Charlie Sheen, right? It was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so saw him again. He's like, hey, should we call that guy? I'm like, no, man, those days are over. Call him right now. When I'm in my protective bubble up in Toronto with my wife, with my sponsor or whatever, I was impenetrable, you know. But once I was out there in Miami with the bro, I didn't have a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Miami's a very cokey place too.
It is very cokey place. I had my white pants on and my light blue polo t-shirt.
Forget about it,
dude. It was like, I was the last person to realize I was a dead man walking, you know. But so I'm kind of in a place like do I want to go back to Miami and conquer the beast, or do I stay away from that town for a while just to just play it super safe? You know, that's kind of like where my thought pattern is right now. Or anyway, it's just interesting, like, because like I definitely don't feel like I'm going to throw away all the progress I made in the last year.
Sure.
You know, so it's just an interesting analytical. I sure as hell didn't enjoy it. It reminded me that like the anticipation of getting the drug is where all the pleasure is. Now that different drugs affect you in a different way, right? But like with cocaine, it seems like the anticipation of the drug is where all the pleasure exists. Then when you get it, it's like anxiety, bowel movements, you know, the urge to do it again.
Yeah. Do you mind if I throw out my vote for you there, Ray?
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, my vote, I don't know anything about any of this world, but I do know about temptation. And so I think as men, we can all relate to that. There are certain things that I just cannot do where like the competitor in me wants to say like, oh, like I can just go. And now that I know that then I know how to, you know, but it's like, there are just certain environments that I cannot go in because I'll slip into bad habits, whatever those bad habits would be. From what I'm hearing and what I know of you, just as a friend to a friend, it's like my vote would be no fucking way do you go back to Miami. I wouldn't judge you if you did, you know, but it's like, if you're wondering about like where that like seesaw lands, I mean, you know, for me, it's like, dude, it sounds like it's just way too of an overpowering environment for you to like, and then you got a friend kind of nudging you. I mean, that's just like, it's like, if you don't want to go if you don't want to slip, don't go where it's slippery. I think that's an AA thing. Yeah. It's like, no, that sounds like that's a slip and slide for sure, brother.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like, oh, I hope I don't do coke here. It's like,
Here in Miami.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
You know, the place where it's the best in the world, where the guy, probably,
Yeah, man. I would just say, again, I wouldn't beat yourself up, but the big thing too, I feel like is a reminder, like, well, why do you not want to do that? Rather than like, would I do it? Would
well,
I
I
not?
don't
It's
want
like,
to. I
well, why
don't want
not?
to undo all the progress I've made.
Fuck yeah.
You know, and like I got back on the scorecard team today, and this isn't a pity party, by the way.
Oh,
Sure.
no,
You know, like
not taking this one.
right, and but it's just like and I also actually I credit the team with like giving me so much more of a rich life that I can return to. You know what I mean? Like if I was trying to break a steady habit and then rebuild positive behavior to replace it, that would be one thing. But like I'm in a position where I can just resume the great work I'm doing.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, Troy just said you can't win this running competition on Coke. Your heart will explode.
True.
Well,
Yeah,
dude, I appreciate you sharing because that's just enormously valuable. And it just goes back to the progress is a fucking ugly path. Like no matter what the books tell you, it's just an ugly path. I don't know a single person that's made progress, substantial progress, where the path just didn't look like a shit show. Like, and so it's a constant zigzag, man. So I appreciate you fucking sharing because that takes some balls.
No worries, man. And like the nice thing about the 12 steps is it's totally voluntary, just like Rhomas. If you screw up, you just get back on the horse the next day, and there's no shame, just like Rhomas. And something that we say in the program is the shame isn't in, and shame's probably not the best word, but the shame isn't in going back out, like returning to your old ways. The shame is in not coming back.
Yep.
Right? So like the shame isn't eating pig in Rhomas, maybe the shame isn't in pigging out on junk food. The shame would be to not get back on the horse and get on the green drinks again.
For sure.
Yep, 100%, 100%, dude. Well, that's fucking awesome, man. Like I said, it's amazing that you're so open with that because that's so valuable to me, and I guarantee it's valuable to the other dogs.
Oh, hell, I've done way worse.
That's a pretty gracious.
Then wear white
host.
pants? I don't know.
That's a pretty gracious host, by the way, being like, "Hey, you want some drinks? You want a drink? No, you want some weed? How about some Coke?" What hospitality!
How about human trafficking? How about like
Thank God you said yes to that. What else was on the menu? It's like, okay, fine, yeah. Like, do you want to fly to an island with me in a private jet?
and hunt the most elusive prey of all, man. Right.
You want to kill someone?
Right.
All right. So
I think we should probably. Well, why don't we throw in one more, Matt? Do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's throw in one more, and then we'll call it cuts there, and then we'll re-up on Friday if that's cool with everybody.
Definitely.
Okay, so what is Ray or Slay? What is the next one? So we have 5. We're moving on to 6.
We were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Again, just like Rhomas, this is about a process and progress. It doesn't say, give it over to God. Tell him to zap your problems out of you. It says, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So again, it's this, all the steps so far are like, look, take your hands off the wheel. Like, turn the car around. Don't go to Miami. Obviously, what you've been trying so far hasn't been working. Like, are you ready to have God remove all these defects of character? And again, Matt, like last week we were talking about, it can be God. It can be the white guy in the sky with the beard in the clouds. It can be the universe. You know, it can be whatever secondary device that takes the decision-making process out of your hands that you need to get through the program.
Yeah, it could be mankind. I mean, that's a funny thing too. A lot of people have this conception of religion, like it's like you're like there's some celestial being just being like, where is everybody? How come nobody's pumped on me? And it's really there just for people's benefit. It's like, yeah, use it or don't use it. Totally up to you. It's a very, I mean, they've validated, like, and they've shown that like having some sort of Like the next video I'm doing on logotherapy is called the supra meaning, which is just like, do you have something outside of yourself that you can fully give yourself over to? And if you do have that, there's tremendous health benefits and mental benefits that come with that. And if you don't, like I don't need that, it's like, cool, that's not a big deal. But it's been found to like really help people to have something outside of themselves they can like fully, I guess, like give themselves up for.
Yeah, and just throwing this out there, Ray, one of the shout outs I've got to give is to Sarah. Because you've been showing up in the scorecard meeting and the workout meeting every single day for months now. And I've got to imagine it's not at the most convenient time on the East Coast, and it probably gets in the way of some other stuff. But there's a part of me that wants to reach out to women like Sarah and my girlfriend and all of the other women who are supportive of us being on the Rhomas team, of saying like, hey, you don't know how bad my demons can get. I need to work out my demons and get them out of me through repetition and habit and workouts and meditation. And like my girlfriend knows, if I don't go to the gym, I turn into a monster, like real bad. So I think there's an element there. I don't think as men, I'm just guessing, but for me, it doesn't seem like I have a choice. I got to get those demons out somehow. There's no neutral. It's either I beat them out positively, or they come out on themselves, in a negative way. Can you guys relate to that, or am I just like speaking nonsense?
100%. And Sarah's actually got the bug now because she has signed up for a noontime everyday workout session.
Oh hell yeah!
Nice.
And with a trainer. Now the trainer is on OnlyFans, and Sarah's having trouble signing up, and she's like, Ray, how does this OnlyFans website work? And I'm like, I have no idea.
I don't even know what that means. I've heard of it. What does it mean?
Oh, it's like Patreon, except people use it for pornography as well as cooking lessons, as well as pornography and pornography.
Yeah, it's like with Wes, you could start a channel where you just got naked and just like, did whatever you wanted to do naked. And people would pay money to watch you be naked and like, make love to yourself and possibly other people.
Is it live?
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure there's a live stream option, but I think it's just
Paige.
videos.
It's like Paige, and there are non-porn subscription channels, but it's notorious for porn. Yeah, which is why I had to quickly delete my own account when my wife asked me help with hers.
But, she's worked. Were you joking? Is this girl literally?
No, it's taken 6 months, but she's now seeing the value of just the working out every day, and the team element, and like just because just like the 12-step, just saying you're going to do it on your own. Okay, new me, work out every day. It just human nature isn't designed to do that. It's not as easy without the team, without the small financial commitment, etc.
Oh yeah,
I believe accountability.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I honestly believe that self-motivation doesn't exist. I like legitimately. I don't know a single person, literally a single person who is quote self-motivated, who gets it all done on by themselves. None, zero.
Yeah.
So it seems like the 12-step program and definitely Rhomas team supports that notion. So Matt, I know we're a few minutes past, but dudes, I so appreciate. Slade, do you have anything to add to that last step? I want to make sure that there's anything.
No, just props to you, Ray. I know how hard that can be.
Thanks, bro.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so are these linen pants, or are they some sort of other cotton? I got to know the fabric, bro.
Dude, it's a proprietary blend that me and my tailor came up with. It would just take too long to explain.
Are they creased or no? Because you can't crease linen. Or you can't.
God, no.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Matt.
Actually, I wore white pants. I wore white pants the other day for a sketch. I like them, dude. Honestly, I secretly want to wear white.
Sorry, Matt. In the sketch? Were you trying to look like a rich, cultured guy with fashion sense? Was that the character?
In this one, sort of, but it was more like I was more like I just wanted to get pussy, and that was the whole thing. So that's what white pants are for. It lets people know like what's up.
It's on.
Came to bone.
Yeah, came to bone.
All right, dudes.
I'm glad I could teach you something, gentlemen. Love you
Yes.
guys.
Dude, love
See
you
you
guys.
Love you guys, too.
I'm
Thank you.
actually
Thanks, guys.
excited to learn about the rest of these too. I'm gonna start doing these as well. Sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. So Ray and Slay, we're good for Friday. Can you would you mind teaching the guys on Friday?
Yeah. Again, I hate thinking of myself as a teacher of this stuff.
Stop.
Nobody thinks of you as a teacher, dude. Don't worry. Just look at you.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Later
Thanks,
on.
dudes. Talk to you guys soon. Everybody
Thanks,
enjoy
guys.
the week.